All right, y'all, what is up? Welcome back. It is like a sauna in here. As you can see, this one is still limping, and I know you guys called that out to me yesterday, so what had happened, and she looks like her ankle definitely looks a little bit swollen there. Either that or it's her leg, and I haven't figured out what or where. So yesterday I put her in with Puddin Muffin in this stall because I got over here and she just decided to go in the stall, and so I just closed the door. I was gonna just, you know, pull them out first and milk them, and 5 minutes in, guys, they both went after Puddin hit her, and then she backed up about 6 feet, and then Puddin and Muffin Puddin and Muffin both full on both attacked her straight and just smashed her into the wall. So been keeping an eye on her. She wasn't limping at the end of the day yesterday, and she looks a little swollen right here. So I'm thinking she maybe just twisted up her ankle or something a bit. Dagnabbit. So she looked good yesterday. Like she was I don't know if she walked it off or was walking it off, but she seems to be not doing as well this morning. But they just got up. Would you stop rubbing your butt on the door so it doesn't so right now we're just monitoring. I don't like it. I don't think it's broken or anything like that, so I don't think that's an issue. I've felt it up and down. I've rotated her joints. She's just got a tender spot somewhere, and I'm gonna get H over here in a few minutes, and we're going to give her a good solid once over. It's always good to have a second opinion, and it's always good to have someone to help hold her. I hope this isn't a prolonged, I hope I'm not just reading different signs. I hope this is not a prolonged something's going on. Because if you remember a couple of weeks ago, she's not putting any weight on it at all now. The vet's office is closed, and they probably won't be open until Wednesday. The thing is, yesterday she had walked it off. It's better that it's her back leg. If you guys ever really notice, the girls run heavy on their front legs. If it was a front leg, it would be a much more difficult thing for her to deal with. She is putting no weight on that at all. She was yesterday, which is why I'm surprised that when I came over here this morning, I was thinking she would have walked it off and she would have been good to go. Okay, well, we will definitely keep an eye on her. She's still smiling. She's not acting like she's in any physical pain other than not standing on the leg. I don't want to force her around too much because I don't want to force her to walk on it. It is going to be a very long, very grueling day. Like I was saying, unfortunately, the vet's not going to be open until Wednesday because of the 4th of July weekend. They're at a point now where they would be closed by the time I could get her there. So I'm not sure. We'll keep it. Well, guys, you know, see. I want to see where she's biting. Yeah, she's biting at the ankle. They can't talk, but sometimes they can show you. I'm just worried that it's a prolonged thing because she had that ankle injury a couple weeks ago, and I thought she had maybe just twisted it or something. She's been fine ever since then. She's not had any issues since then. She has been completely normal. And then yesterday when she was attacked by Puddin and Muffin is when you guys noticed her limping in the background. And I thought that she would walk it off overnight because yesterday, like I said, when she was walking out in the field, when she came into the building last night, or to the barn, she was limping a little, but she was definitely putting weight on it. And now she's not doing anything. She is mixing it up with Stop it. I'm wearing a red shirt today. Does that bother you? It's red. Y'all know I don't wear red. This is just a leftover. Y'all, I was trying to start the Q&A and I looked out here. And President Snow and Mello were laying up on the pool slash, the spool slash slide. I just thought that was adorable. Yes, I'm actually wearing a red shirt. It's just it's a leftover shirt from my youngest being in band. Okay, Q&A. I'm gonna zip through a lot of these. Some of these I might do more explanation, but I can answer more questions if I just stick to topic. Will we be doing a holiday or seasonal soap? Yes. We actually have, where we get our fragrance oil from, which you guys know is Nature's Garden. They're in Ohio. We used to go up there, go to their showroom. We'd pick out, say we wanted a blackberry fragrance, we'd go up there. They would show us their 15 different blackberry fragrances. H and I would sniff through those, eliminate the ones we don't like, and we would do it blind. We'd turn the label around so we couldn't see what it was called or anything like that. We would keep sniffing. I don't like this one, I don't like that one. She would pick hers, I would pick mine. And then we would break it down, pick our one blackberry fragrance that we wanted, and we've been very successful at that. I think you guys would agree that our fragrances are very, very good. So we would do that. Unfortunately, the 2020 incident closed their showroom, and they currently have no plan for reopening their showroom. So it is more difficult to pick a good fragrance that we really like. So it takes longer to actually pick out a new fragrance. We would go up there and say we want to do a couple of new men's fragrances. We would go through that whole process. We'd pick them. We'd send them out to you guys. Since the showroom is shut down, now I have to go through and have to read all the descriptors. I have to decide what makes those descriptors appealing to people. And then you have to order it. And then if it stinks when it comes in, then you're screwed. You paid money and you're not going to use it. So it's difficult. We do want to do a men's fragrance or a couple men's fragrances. We always do our Pumpkin Swirl Delight, which is an amazing fragrance. And we will definitely be doing our Christmas soap this year again. If you guys saw that last year, I'll see if I can find a picture and pop it in right here. Fantastic fragrance. Blows my mind every time I smell it. We had one bar that kind of got a little bit dropped on the floor, so it ended up in our pantry, and it still smells just as amazing as it did the day I made it last year, which was like October. But it is just fantastic. So you guys will be seeing Pumpkin Swirl Delight, and you will be seeing the Christmas fragrance. What are these swings for? These are people swings. They are people swings. We sit over here and we people swing with the goats. They like to gather around. Cookie right now is dragging her head on the bottom of the swing. She's like, that's a nice scratch. Miss Cookie also likes to just stand there, and she'll stand in front of me and just let me like kick off of her. She loves it. I'm not abusing her. She'll just stand there and let me give her a little shove off of her, and then swing out, shove off of her. So these are people swings. Cats and the gummy horn and breeding does. So cats, we have 3 barn cats. We have Finnegan, who covers the bunny barn chicken coop. He actually is a beast. He's currently endeavoring to catch a full-size rabbit. He had one within his grasp last night, and he's just too slow. So that's Finnegan, and then we have Boots and China over here in the goat barn. They were a farm rescue. There is a company in Columbus, I cannot remember the name, and I've never been able to find their information again. They do what's called farm rescues. They will go out to farms and pick up feral cats, stray cats, cats that are just born, and they will take care of all their shots, rabies, all their vaccines, and they chip them, and then They bring them to your farm. It is required that they take the cat from their vehicle and put it in your barn, and that cat stays in your crate in your barn for 2 weeks, and then you can let the cat out. The cat now knows that this is where it lives, this is where you feed it. China and Boots, we don't know their backstory. China is missing her one eye. You know what, I should probably get off the swing for you guys. I don't want to make you seasick. China is missing her one eye. We don't know, and they didn't know any of the backstory. They don't know what the deal was with her. So she is very, it's taken her about 4 years to come around to even letting me really in her space. She does not want to be picked up. She does not want to be held. She is an amazing mouser. She is an amazing chipmunker, squirreler. Somebody brought me half a squirrel one day. They defend this barn and their goats like their life depends on it. They love the goats. I've tried to catch it. It's just a very quick moment where they actually walk up, and it's called, when a cat rubs its face on something, it's called bussing. They walk by these goats all the time and they bus the goats. They say, "You're my goats. I'm claiming you, I'm keeping you, you're mine." That's China. China does not want me to pick her up. I went through the same process with China as I did with Boots. Picking up, holding, petting. Boots was actually the most standoffish. She actually ripped the bars off of the cage. Hang on, I'll take you inside the barn here and I'll show you something. She ripped the bars off the cage. We had her over here. She ripped the bars off the cage. She ran up this post, up into the very top of the barn up there, into the soffit, and she ran down into the soffit, and she lived there for, this was after 2 weeks, guys. After, yes, for you people, I do have cobwebs in my barn. I don't have time to sweep cobwebs down just so people don't complain about them. So there they are. Give you something to complain about, I'll just delete your comments. She ran up in there and out into the soffit, and she lived in the soffit in August. It was July or August. It was about 100 degrees outside. I thought, well, there's Cha-Cha right there. Hi, China baby. See, guys, she doesn't want to interact. She's good coming in to get fed. She's good if I pet her while she's eating, but other than that, she doesn't want to interact. She also does not bust the goats or mess with them at all, but she does defend her territory like a beast. So Bootsy Boots lived in this soffit right here for, I think it was about 2 weeks before I was able to finally live trap her and get her back in the cage, where she had to spend another 2 weeks of me every day feeding her. What I would do is I would feed her in the cage, and then I would just sneak a finger in there, because when H and I got her out of the live trap, I had on welding gloves. She bit down on my hand so hard, I thought she was going to break one of my bones in my finger. Now, the welding gloves kept her from penetrating my skin. That did not stop the pain. The bite force of a cat, if you've ever been bitten by a cat, you think, oh, look at the tiny, cute little thing. It's serious. And if I had not had those welding gloves on, I'd have probably needed to go to the ER and get some stitches. Hi. I guess I'm easily distracted by this one. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to win the day? Nom, 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 nom. Now she's trying to get her molars on me. The gummy horn. Gummy, where are you? Here you are. Come here. Let's talk about you. This is what is known as a skr. This is not technically, it's a horn, okay? It's a horn, but it's what's known as a skr. This is what happens when you disbud and you miss a little bit of the horn material, and it grows back in this weird pattern. Because only part of the horn is growing in. The part that was left is what's growing in. I didn't want to pet you anyway. And no, you can't eat my necklace. It's not a necklace, it's my earbud. You can't eat it anyway. Oh, you can't. So this is what's known as a skr. And it's just, if you cut half your fingernail and let the other half grow in, that's kind of what you would get. You'd get this weird shape. So that's why it looks like that. What had happened was, before, the person we got her from, it was her first time ever disbudding goats. She thought she'd give it a try. And trust me, guys, it's not a fun thing. It's difficult. You're taking a hot burner and you're burning their head with it, and it's something you want to do quickly and efficiently. And she just missed a little piece, and it came back. And by the time we realized this video is gonna suck, by the time we realized that she was developing scurs, we took her to the vet. There's a point when the horn actually attaches to the skull, and you can't do anything after that. When they're young, it's just kind of floating there. You can move it around, and that's when you disbud. And when it attaches to the skull, you can no longer disbud. There's nothing you can do. It's part of the skull. It continues to grow, and so we could not have it removed. So what we'll do now is we'll let it come in as it is. If it becomes a problem where it's wrapping around and going into her face or anything like that, we'll go ahead and take her to the vet and have them. They use a wire saw, what's known as a wire saw. Go watch Dr. Poole, you'll see him do it 100 times. So what we'll do is we'll just hold her still, take the wire saw, and we'll cut the horn off. On occasion, they actually will break the horn off, and that's fine too, as long as there's no blood flow in it, down to a certain point, which is almost at the skull level. And the older she gets, the less blood flow there'll be in there. But sometimes they'll snap it off, and then you just let it be. So that's the gummy horn. Yes, it's there. No, we can never have it removed. We can just keep it trimmed back so it doesn't grow into her face or anything like that. All right, next round of questions is going to focus on my dirty floor and goats. No, I don't like standing in front of the camera very long and having you guys just stare at my face. So why not watch goats? Liquid soap. We have no plans to do liquid soap. We would be closer to doing lotions and lip balms than we would be to doing liquid soap. We don't like to do things half fill in the blank. We would like to make sure that it's a high quality product, that we're using as few ingredients as possible, or as we say, with minimal ingredients. And when you get into liquid soaps and lotions, it requires preservatives and things like that. We're not ready to jump into that yet. It's also going to require machinery, time, and effort. So lotion, I think, might be something we do go forward. I'm not like a everything organic guy. I'm not like a, you know what I'm talking about. But I want, when we do a product, we want to do it right. We want to use as few ingredients as possible. And if this can't make your day, I will touch your child upon my wish, ma'am. You better step off, homie. Don't put your ears forward. Ears forward is like RBF. It also says, I'm done dealing with you. Ears up and back means I'm about to attack you. Ears straight up is generally just like, what? Did you say something? How did I learn to make soap? Keep it weird, Cookie. Keep it weird, baby. I learned to make soap watching YouTube. I didn't even learn to make soap watching YouTube. What had happened was we weren't very much into dairy yet, but we were producing a lot of milk, and I don't like wasting stuff. And Ohio regulations on selling raw dairy products is to the point where you just don't want to do it at all unless you're a big corporation. The big corporations have kind of forced the hand of the health department that only their way is the best way, and I as a small farm, I cannot get into building a kitchen. Basically, I would have needed to build a kitchen onto my brand new house that we just built, and only milk could go in and only the dairy products from that milk come out. And then you have health inspectors that come to your house, or you rent a what do they call it? Not an industrial kitchen. You would rent a kitchen that's already certified, And to just make a couple pounds of cheese a month, you know, obviously that wasn't worth it. And so we watch a channel. Her name is Katie. She is Royalty Soaps, Royalty, Royalty Soaps. She makes these beautiful, over-the-top, elaborate soaps. She does all kinds of cool themes and things. And we were just watching her one night, and H said, "You can do that," as she does. She has more confidence in me than I ever will. And that's great. When we were building this barn out, we had this barn Amish built. These are the guys that built it right here. They signed the barn upon my request, and they built this shell. Everything else you see in here, I built out, because my lovely wife said to me, first of all, she started doing an internet search. It was much prettier when it was brand new. She started doing an internet search. She's like, "I like that gate. You can totally build that." I'm like, "No, I can't." She said, "Sure you can." So I did. And that's how it happens in our life. She's like, "You can do that." And I was like, "Not even a freaking chance." And then I try, and that happens. So I built out this entire barn. The same thing happened with the soap. We're looking at these soaps that are like over the top, crazy, beautiful, that's not a starter level soap. And she's like, "You can do that." And I was like, "No." And so I started dabbling a little bit with formulas. I found a few people. Brambleberry, she was talking about how to work with lye and things like that, and how to add goat milk. Katie does not do goat milk. She does just normal soap, lye water instead of milk lye. So I found a site called Soap Calc, CALC, like a soap calculator. Handsome man, good morning. And I started dabbling with the formula. What I wanted was like creamy, but I also wanted big bubbles, and I wanted little bubbles, and I'm very picky, and I wanted enough big bubbles that people were like, "Oh, it lathers so beautifully," but I wanted enough of those small bubbles that it felt silky and smooth and bubbly on the skin, but also like creamy. So I probably spent day after day, probably 40 or 50 hours just bumping the formula around until I was happy with what I thought it looked like. So when you buy our soap, it's not like I just put in one formula to spit something out. I'm doing bar graphs. I'm doing all kinds of crazy stuff that I'm moving these little things around, just bumping it a little bit here and there, until I was happy with the formula before I even touched the soap. Then we went out and we bought like a 2-pound jug of lye, and which is extremely expensive to buy just 2 pounds. And I took some goat milk. We had some goji berries that we grow for like tea or eating up in the fruit garden. So we had some goji berries up there, and I went out and I bought some orange ginger. And I don't even know if I have a picture of this soap, guys. I bought an orange ginger essential oil. Oh, yeah, bite his ear. For fragrance oil. And I did a double pour on an angle as my first bar of soap I ever made. Now, H was like, "Just keep it simple." And I was like, "No, you started this." So I did a double pour on an angle with ground up goji berry in it. It was kind of the precursor to the eucalyptus mint bar, if you guys know what that looks like. It was white on one side with goji berries in it, and it was orange on the other side with goji berries in it. And I went out and I picked some goji berry fruit off of the plant and some leaves, and I set it up and I did a cute little picture. And I think I ended up only getting 9 bars because the people who we bought the molds from, they said it'll hold X amount of ounces. I think they said it would hold like 40 ounces or something like that. Turns out the molds hold closer to about 52 ounces. So I only ended up with 9 bars, and it was short from the top down, so I cut it sideways, and it was this cute little chunky bar that fit in your hand perfectly. and I sold all 9 of them like immediately. So we were like, oh, maybe perhaps we have something here. And then so our church was having a craft fair to remodel the men's restroom. And so I started whipping out soaps. We did eucalyptus mint, we did plain eucalyptus, we did lavender, I went with this crazy high top Christmas soap that had little candles in it. So I poured this batch of white on. I'm going to try to find pictures for these and I'll show you some of these pictures. I poured this batch of white and I cut it down to look like pillar candles. And I created this orange batch so that I could pipe flames on top of the candles, and then I poured all the soap in on top of that to make like this nighttime scene. I ripped it off from Katie, straight ripped it off from Katie, because I wanted to test my skills and abilities. And for the people who were always like, you're ripping that off, or you're blah, blah, blah. You know what it was? It's the people that say, you don't hold a candle next to Crystal, your goat herd is nothing compared to Crystal's, that drive me. Because of course not. I'm not there yet. But if I don't set a goal to meet or beat Crystal, then I never achieve meeting or beating Crystal. If I just pour plain white soap, I never become good at making any other soap. So that's what I do. I push myself creatively. Sometimes you screw it up. I literally have only screwed up 2 batches of soap, and I don't even know how many thousands and thousands of bars of soap that I've made, but I have only messed up 2 batches of soap because I just follow the rules. I do the math, and I'm not awesome at anything, but I try really hard to make sure that it's right, and that always helps. But you gotta push yourself. You gotta look at somebody you gotta look at the Crystal and you say, her goat herd is fantastic, and how do I get there? If you just say, this is my goat herd, and you have no goals, then that will always be your goat herd. So thanks for giving me fuel for my fire. So I took some of Katie's, I only ever made 1 batch of it. I only made that batch so that I could force myself to figure out how soap works, and to force myself to figure out what happens, exactly how soap works, and what the limits are, and how I can force the limits. You have to know the rules to break the rules. So that's part of how I learn, is knowing the rules and then trying to bend the rules to make something cool. So I started out with crazy soaps. It was crazy. I'm piping stuff inside of other soaps, and then I'm filling stuff in. I tried like some embed stuff. I made stuff cut up by hand and put in soaps. So we went to the church craft show with, I think, like 80 bars of soap. Something like 80 bars of soap, 80 or 90. And I left there with 0 bars of soap, because we said from the beginning, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right. We're going to use high quality ingredients. We're gonna use minimal ingredients. We're gonna use body safe ingredients. Someday we'll get into our backgrounds and why we know about fragrance industry and fashion industry and merchandising and making things pretty. That will definitely be down the road somewhere, but not currently, not anytime soon. So it's just the industries we come up in and what we've done in our lives that have forced us to do quality work and create a good product. So we sold out, and we're like, we have something here. So I started dabbling. I started playing with new designs. H and I are working on designs together, creating these soaps, using things like, you know, if we're gonna make a mint soap, why don't we grow our own mint? You can grow mint quite easily. We were growing our own lavender. Lavender does not like Ohio. Once you get it, you're good, but after you kill, you know, you get one season to try it, and after you try a couple seasons and you murder all the lavender, you're like, okay, we're gonna do lavender, we're gonna have to buy some. So it's just, that's how I learned, and that's how I pushed myself. And this video, I think I didn't answer very many questions, so I'm going to do another video for you guys. If you want to, throw it in the comments. Yes, please do another video. I know I didn't get through a lot of comments. H and I met 7/27 of 95. We have been together, this will be 28 years. She is my anchor. Without her, I would probably be in some third world country, farming rice or something, just enough to survive. And yeah, she keeps me straight. She keeps me on the right path. She lets me run just enough to get my creative out, and she pulls me back. So yeah, 28 years this year, and 3 kids, all grown, all out on their own. My youngest is actually turning, our youngest is actually turning 20 this year. I know I don't look that old. Whatever. I am Scottish, Greek, English. Get off me. Fly season. And I love goats. And I'm going to end it on that with the cutest little goat fight ever. Let me know in the comments, guys, if you want me to do another video. I'm going to do another one anyway, but I'll see how many questions I can get through. I'm passionate about what we do. So when I start talking soap, you guys are throwing those soap questions out there. It's such, I have to love it, because if I didn't love it, I would stop doing it, because it's just the amount of work that you guys know that we put in is insane. I'm doing 105 hours a week. That might be short. H does have a full-time, she works at least 50 hours a week at her full-time job, and she's always at her level. She is always available, if you know what I mean. As soon as she gets off the clock, she starts with soap stuff. So she's working at least 105 hours a week. I base 105 off about 15 hours a day that we do. That's probably a little short, and I know it's short on like a week like this, like not last night, but night before last. I was up until almost 2 a.m. wrapping soap, stringing soap, getting ready for this weekend. And my body, I have, it's hard for me to say stuff because I'm not arrogant and I like to stay humble, but I have, throughout my life, I've learned to, if I want to push so hard I could snap a tendon or break an arm, mentally I can do that. And I have injured myself because my body says you should stop it, and I don't. And the other night, about 2 a.m., I was getting like super dizzy, just not feeling well, feeling like I'm gonna throw up, getting dizzy, just sitting there wrapping soap. And I went down, I laid on the couch for a couple minutes, and I woke up on the couch at like 6:30 in the morning, and I was like, whew. I was laying in a position that was not good. So my arm was dead. But I crashed. I laid down, I passed out, and nothing happened. And I woke up, felt like a minute later, and it was like 4.5 hours later. And it's a lot. It's a lot, and we'll round the corner. I have some very strong beliefs that you can make excuses, you can make progress, but you cannot make both. And you can apply that to anything. You can make excuses, you can make money, but you can't make both. That is it. I know this is going to be an extremely long video, and I have way too much to do. Soap launch is in 1 hour, and We'll see you guys tomorrow.